Before the first shot was fired, the world was already bleeding. Not from bullets or bombs, but from betrayal, bitterness, and a peace built on broken promises. In the quiet years between wars, something dark was gathering strength. Empires whispered to themselves, nations clenched their fists, and history, patient and unforgiving, prepared to strike again. The First World War was supposed to be the war that ended all wars. Instead, it ended illusions. When the guns fell silent in 1918, Europe lay shattered, its cities scarred, its young men buried in foreign soil, its economies in ruin. The victors spoke of peace, but what they delivered was punishment. The Treaty of Versailles stripped Germany of its pride, its land, its army, and its future. Reparations crushed its economy. Hunger stalked its streets. Humiliation became a way of life. From that wreckage, anger grew like a weed through concrete. Across the Atlantic, the United States watched with cautious distance. America had crossed an ocean to end the bloodshed, then returned home, weary and wary of Europe's endless wars. The nation believed, hoped, that oceans could insulate freedom from chaos. But history was already proving otherwise. The 1920s flickered with false hope. Then came the Great Depression. Markets collapsed. Jobs vanished. Desperation spread across continents. In times like these, democracy is fragile. And into that vacuum stepped men who promised strength, unity, and revenge. In Germany, one voice rose above the rest. Adolf Hitler was not born a conqueror, but he understood resentment. He spoke to a wounded nation and told it exactly what it wanted to hear: that Germany had been stabbed in the back, that its suffering was not its fault, and that destiny demanded rebirth through power. Democracy fell not with a gunshot, but with applause. By 1933, Hitler was chancellor. Soon after, he became something far more dangerous. The Nazi regime moved with chilling efficiency. Political enemies vanished. Jews were stripped of rights, then of dignity, then of life itself. Germany rearmed in open defiance of the treaty meant to restrain it. Tanks rolled. Aircraft filled the skies. Europe watched and hesitated. To the south, Italy marched to a different rhythm, but toward the same darkness. Benito Mussolini promised to resurrect the glory of ancient Rome. His black shirts crushed dissent. His armies invaded Ethiopia, using poison gas against a defenseless people. The League of Nations protested. Mussolini ignored them. The world learned a lesson it would soon forget. Words without force are an invitation. In the East, another empire sharpened its blade. Imperial Japan, driven by militarism and resource hunger, turned outward. In 1931, it seized Manchuria. In 1937, it unleashed full-scale war on China. Cities burned. Civilians were slaughtered. The massacre at Nanking revealed a brutality that shocked even a hardened world. Yet again, condemnation came without consequence. Three nations, Germany, Italy, and Japan, different in culture, united in ambition, were testing the limits of global resolve. And every time the world blinked, they advanced. Britain and France, exhausted by the memory of trenches and mass graves, clung to peace at any cost. They called it appeasement. They believed that if grievances were addressed, if concessions were made, war could be avoided. In 1936, Hitler sent troops into the Rhineland, territory forbidden by treaty. No one stopped him. He learned another lesson: the bold are rewarded. Austria fell next, absorbed into Germany without a fight. Then came Czechoslovakia. At Munich in 1938, world leaders signed away its defenses in exchange for Hitler's promise of peace. Peace for our time, they said. But peace had already slipped through their fingers. From across the ocean, America watched the storm clouds gather. The United States remained officially neutral, bound by isolationist laws and haunted by the losses of the previous war. Yet the American conscience was not asleep. Newspapers carried images of bombed cities and fleeing refugees. Factories hummed quietly, not yet for war, but ready. Somewhere deep in the national spirit, a sense of responsibility stirred. By 1939, diplomacy was a hollow shell. Hitler had no intention of stopping. His gaze turned east toward Poland. To avoid a two-front war, he signed a chilling pact with his ideological enemy, the Soviet Union, a secret agreement to carve Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. It was a marriage of convenience, sealed with ink and blood. On September 1st, 1939, at dawn, German forces crossed the Polish border. Tanks thundered forward. Aircraft screamed from the sky. Blitzkrieg, lightning war, was unleashed with terrifying precision. Cities fell in days. Civilians fled as the world held its breath. 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany. The Second World War had begun. It was no longer a question of borders or treaties. It was a battle over the future of civilization. Totalitarianism was on the march, armed with modern industry and ancient hatred. If it succeeded, the very idea of freedom would become a memory. America was not yet in the fight, but the fight was coming to America. Because oceans cannot stop ideology, and tyranny, left unchecked, always seeks more ground. The world was burning again, and when the flames grew high enough, the United States would be called not just as a nation, but as a defender of the free world. And when the world finally caught fire, America could no longer remain in the shadows.